All right, welcome back to the channel. So it looks like we're going to get an idea of who Jamaal Charlo will be fighting next because the WBC has ordered a fight between Jremall Charlo and Sergey Derevyanchenko for whenever all of this boxing hiatus stuff goes on, whenever we get back to boxing. Now, I got to say, dude, though, I do find something really funny about the selection of the opponent, the mandatory opponent for this, because it's a little bit over the top. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. So Jamaal Charlo, who I believe is definitely one of the best middleweights in the world. I hesitate to say that he's the best middleweight because there is really a lot of parity in that middleweight division. If I had said welterweight, please forgive me. The middleweight, the 160-pound division, with the other champions that are in that division, and that being Demetrius Andrade. I always learned to pronounce that name as Andrade, but I think he pronounces his Andrade. So Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, Gennady Golovkin, Canelo Alvarez, and Jamaal Charlo. But Jamaal Charlo and Demetrius Andrade have not really been given the opportunity to prove that they're the best because of some really kind of, in my opinion, shady moves by, on the one hand, the WBC, and on the other hand, the Zone. And this fight being ordered for Jremall Charlo, it's somewhat connected to that for me because I don't understand something about Sergey Derevyanchenko. Now, before I go into that in detail, I want to say special thank you to everybody that supports this channel by watching the videos. Thank you guys so much. I know I put ads in the videos, and sometimes that can add a little bit of a break in your experience, but it really does go a very long way towards supporting the channel and allowing us to get out the type of messages that we want to get out, and not necessarily the things that are just going to really accommodate and be liked by this platform's algorithm. So the fact that you guys watch these videos, it really does strengthen the channel. Thank you guys so much, and thank you to everybody that supports in the Patreon. Thank you to everybody that supports on the as a channel member, and everybody that comes by the live streams Monday through Friday and supports in the super chats and the cash apps. You guys really do make it work. Thank you guys very, very much. Now, the thing that gets me about this Sergey Derevyanchenko and the WBC thing is it's like, how many opportunities is Sergey Derevyanchenko going to get at a championship belt? Like, I don't have anything against Sergey Derevyanchenko. I think he's a very good fighter. He was originally ducked by Gennady Golovkin when Gennady Golovkin refused to fight him, and he decided to fight Maurice Selecki instead. And then the IBF, who is very, very solid with their at least compared to everybody else with the administration of their rules, said, nah, you don't fight Sergey. If you don't fight this guy, we're stripping you. And I think they might have also stripped Canelo Alvarez for not fighting Sergey Derevyanchenko right away. But it was a scenario where Gennady Golovkin got stripped for not defending that IBF against the IBF mandatory, and Canelo Alvarez got stripped for not defending against the IBF mandatory. And I think Sergey Derevyanchenko was the mandatory in both of those. And at the very least, I know for sure that it was in the original scenario with Gennady Golovkin, right? But then, so not only did he have 2 title shots that he's supposed to get from Canelo and Gennady Golovkin, then he actually got 2 title shots against Daniel Jacobs and Gennady Golovkin, because eventually Gennady Golovkin, I think what happened was, Gennady Golovkin, Canelo Alvarez beat Daniel Jacobs, and then he won the IBF belt, but because he wouldn't follow it up and fight Sergey Derevyanchenko, and I don't understand why it would be Sergey Derevyanchenko, but it was, he winds up getting stripped of the belt, and Gennady Golovkin gets it back by fighting for the vacant one against Sergey Derevyanchenko. So with all of these title shots and opportunities with the IBF that Sergey Derevyanchenko got, why would the WBC order a mandatory title shot for Sergey Derevyanchenko against Jamaal Charlo when he just lost 2 out of his last 3 fights? Out of his last 3 fights were shots for the IBF title, and he lost both of those. Why would you then move him over there to fight Jremall? Why would you then move him over there to fight Jremall Charlo? Right now, the reason I say that is funny is because what credit is Jremall Charlo going to get for beating Sergey Derevyanchenko after Sergey Derevyanchenko just lost to Daniel Jacobs and Gennady Golovkin? All they're doing is giving Jamaal Charlo their leftovers. Now, Sergey Derevyanchenko is a live dog. Don't get me wrong, he's a live dog. Many people thought that he beat Gennady Golovkin in the last fight. I didn't. I thought Gennady Golovkin won the fight, but it was a close fight, and it was definitely a very trying fight for Gennady Golovkin, right? But at the same time, man, when you look at it, it was a loss. So to have him fight Jamaal Charlo, you're making Jamaal Charlo, beat guys. That doesn't add anything to Jamaal Charlo's reputation. It doesn't add, it puts him at risk because the guy's a good fighter, but it doesn't add anything to him because, again, he just lost 2 title shots in a row for belts. It's like the WBC is doing Sergey Derevyanchenko like the WBO did for Ray Beltran at 135 pounds. Like every other fight that Ray Beltran gets is a championship fight. Like how many times does the same guy get to fight for the same belt before you go find somebody else that might very well be, that could be a competitive fight? So, it really strikes me funny that the WBC would order that particular fight. Now, as far as how the fight itself goes, I do believe that it is a good fight. You've got, Jremall Charlo, who's the bigger, the stronger guy. But Sergey Derevyanchenko is he's a tough customer. He's gonna come forward. He's gonna throw shots. He's gonna put some work in on Jremall Charlo. But I think the difference between Jremall Charlo and Sergey Derevyanchenko is going to be the jab of Jremall Charlo, the straight right hand of Jremall Charlo. That uppercut is something ugly. And I just think his overall athleticism and his strength and his speed is going to shut down Derevyanchenko. And I think that it's going to be a fight where, some people might give some rounds to Derevyanchenko, from spots here and there. But I think, it's going to wind up being an easier fight for Jremall Charlo than say the guy, Matt Korobov was, because Matt Korobov was coming out of that southpaw stance. I do not believe that Sergey Derevyanchenko is a southpaw. I'm pretty sure he's not a southpaw, so he's not going to have to deal with that southpaw stance that he had to deal with Matt Korobov. But I think that Matt Korobov and Sergey Derevyanchenko are about the same level of fighter, except for the fact that Derevyanchenko's coming from it at a different side. And I think that Jremall Charlo is going to have an easier time with Derevyanchenko than Gennady Golovkin does, because Jremall Charlo is just at this stage of his career is in a better stage of his career than Gennady Golovkin is, and he always has been able to do certain things that Gennady Golovkin can't do. Jremall Charlo does have the ability to fight off of his back foot. He has faster hands. He's probably not quite as heavy-handed as Gennady Golovkin, but he's really not very far off from being that heavy-handed as well. But the speed of his punches come off much more quickly, and he's much more fresh. He's much closer to the prime than Gennady Golovkin was when he fought Sergey Derevyanchenko. But all in all, I just the whole thing. I like the fact that the fight is happening, because I do like Sergey Derevyanchenko. It just strikes me really funny that it would be him that would get that shot instead of one of the other guys in the WBC ranking who hasn't recently lost hasn't lost back-to-back shots at a championship. You know what I mean? Because when he beats him, when Jamaal Charlo beats him, all you're gonna hear is, so what? He lost. He already lost to he just lost to Gennady Golovkin, and then before that he lost to Daniel Jacobs. So that's nobody. Charlo didn't beat anybody, right? Same way that the WBC, by the way that they handled the franchise championship with Jremall Charlo, screwed Jamaal Charlo over, and they screwed over Devin Haney, because neither one of those guys had the opportunity to actually win the belt. because the WBC decided that they would just give it to him instead of forcing the person who they got in the position to be the mandatory challenger for, instead of making that person fight them and having, the glory that comes along, the glory that comes along with, winning a belt in the ring and having somebody say, and new, right? All of that stuff got taken away from Jremall Charlo. All of that got taken away from Devin Haney by the WBC. And it just, the decisions that they're making to me is just, man, I don't get it, man. And honestly, man, I think, that Jremall Charlo might be better suited moving up to 100. If he can handle the weight, and there's no reason for me to believe that he can't, because 8 pounds is where you're starting to get up into some of the bigger jumps, right? Because it's not like, well, was it 7 pounds from 147 to 154? I mean, and then, yeah, so 7, yep, that's the first 8 pound weight jump. So then that's a little bit of a gap in there in that weight, but he might wind up being able to get, more shots at multiple champions in a weight division at 168 much more easily than he'll get at 160, because these guys, especially the WBC, has no plans whatsoever on trying to get Jamaal Charlo a fight with Canelo Alvarez. So anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.